The forest stretched endlessly in every direction, its towering pines swaying violently under the force of the storm. Sheets of rain cascaded through the canopy, pooling on the muddy forest floor. The occasional flash of lightning illuminated the darkness, revealing the dense, untamed wilderness that surrounded the narrow road. Inside a worn-out SUV, Mia adjusted the straps of baby Lily's car seat, her fingers moving with the practiced ease of a mother. Jack, gripping the steering wheel tightly, stole a quick glance at her and smiled. Despite the ominous weather, their little family exuded warmth and tenderness. "This storm's worse than the forecast predicted," Jack said, his voice calm but tense as he squinted through the rain-streaked windshield. "We'll make it," Mia replied reassuringly, tucking a strand of damp hair behind her ear. She reached back to stroke Lily's tiny hand, eliciting a soft coo from their daughter. "Won't we, sweetheart? Daddy's got us." The crackle of thunder rolled overhead, startling Lily, who began to whimper. Mia leaned closer, humming a soothing lullaby. Jack chuckled softly, his grip on the wheel relaxing just a little. "You're magic with her," he said. "Comes with the job description," Mia quipped, her smile breaking through the tension. The road ahead was barely visible now, a winding ribbon swallowed by the storm. Jack slowed the car, the tires struggling against the slick surface. "Almost there," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. But nature had other plans. A deafening crack split the air as a massive tree toppled onto the road just feet ahead. Jack slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. The impact sent the car veering wildly, the tires skidding across the wet pavement before it tumbled off the road and into the forest. The world turned into chaos, branches scraping metal, glass shattering, and a sharp jolt as the vehicle came to an abrupt stop, wedged precariously between two trees. Silence followed, broken only by the relentless drumming of rain and the faint cries of baby Lily. Inside the wreckage, Jack and Mia lay motionless, unconscious from the impact. Lily, still secured in her car seat, squirmed and wailed, her small voice a beacon of life in the desolation. Outside, the forest stirred. Shadows moved among the rain-soaked trees, their presence almost imperceptible beneath the storm's fury. A massive bear emerged from the darkness, its fur slick with rain and its amber eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. The creature sniffed the air, drawn by the faint cries emanating from the wreckage. Its enormous paws moved with surprising grace, the muddy ground muffling its approach. The bear reached the vehicle, its towering form illuminated briefly by a flash of lightning. It sniffed the shattered glass and twisted metal, its breath visible in the cold air. Inside, Lily's cries grew louder, her tiny fists flailing in distress. The bear's gaze shifted to her, the intensity in its eyes strangely calm, almost contemplative. With a low grunt, it began to investigate. The creature's massive claws gripped the crumpled door, wrenching it open with ease. The sound of twisting metal echoed through the forest. Lily's cries quieted for a moment, her wide eyes locking onto the strange figure now peering into the car. The bear reached in, its movements deliberate and almost cautious. Its enormous head nudged aside debris, and then, with a gentleness that seemed impossible for a beast of its size, it lifted Lily out of her seat. Wrapped in the bear's massive paw, Lily looked impossibly small. The animal cradled her against its chest, shielding her from the relentless rain. Its breath warmed her as it turned away from the wreckage and began to lumber deeper into the forest. Lily's cries softened, replaced by curious coos as she clutched at the bear's wet fur. The storm raged on, but the pair moved steadily through the trees, their unlikely journey beginning under the cover of darkness. Back at the crash site, the rain washed over the wrecked car, concealing the footprints of the bear as quickly as they appeared. The forest seemed to close in, swallowing all traces of what had just occurred. The bear and the child vanished into the wilderness, leaving behind only the storm and an unanswered question: why had the predator chosen to save her? Lily's cries pierced the stillness of the forest, but the bear remained patient. It settled beneath a massive tree with a wide canopy, sheltering them from the unrelenting rain. The little girl, swaddled against the bear's chest, squirmed and whimpered. She was too young to understand the strangeness of her predicament, but her instincts told her this towering creature was unfamiliar, and her tiny body shook with confusion and fear. The bear grunted softly, a low, rhythmic sound that seemed to calm Lily. Her cries turned to sniffles, her wide eyes blinking at the creature's massive face. The bear shifted her carefully to the ground, nudging a cluster of berries toward her. Its movements were deliberate, as if it knew exactly which berries were safe. Lily hesitated, then reached out with chubby fingers, her natural curiosity overcoming her fear. The forest around them came alive as the rain eased. The smell of damp earth and moss filled the air, and distant howls echoed through the trees, a reminder that they were not alone. The bear's ears twitched at every sound, its hulking form shielding Lily as it scanned the shadows. Predators lurked nearby, but none dared approach the massive creature with the strange, fragile bundle. In the days that followed, Lily's initial fear transformed into wonder. She watched the bear with fascination, her tiny hands gripping its fur as it carried her across streams and through thick underbrush. When she grew cold, the bear curled around her, its warm body a fortress against the chill of the forest nights. During storms, it huddled under rocky outcrops or fallen trees, shielding her from the elements with its massive frame. Lily began to adapt to the rhythms of the wilderness. She mimicked the bear's grunts, producing soft, gurgling sounds that made the creature tilt its head in what seemed like curiosity. She laughed when it nudged her playfully with its nose, and the sound echoed through the forest like a bell, a rare note of joy in the untamed wild. Slowly but surely, the bond between them deepened. It was during one of these moments that Lily reached a tiny hand toward the bear's face, her fingers brushing its damp nose. The bear froze, its amber eyes meeting her gaze. There was something ancient in its expression, a deep well of understanding that defied explanation. The moment lingered, a silent exchange between species that shared no language but seemed to communicate effortlessly. As the days turned into weeks, the bond between Lily and the bear grew stronger. The bear's actions became more purposeful. It carried her to higher ground to avoid flooding, steered clear of dangerous trails, and even used its massive claws to carve pathways through thick foliage. In turn, Lily grew bolder. She patted the bear's back when it grunted protectively, and her tiny laughter seemed to bring a lightness to the creature's heavy steps. Flashbacks hinted at the bear's past. In one quiet scene, the bear paused beside a fallen tree, its gaze lingering on a cluster of claw marks etched into the bark. Its head dipped slightly, a low, mournful sound escaping its throat. The marks told a story of loss, a cub that had been taken or lost long ago. Now, it seemed, the bear had found something to protect again, something to fill the void. Meanwhile, the search for Lily continued. Among the search party was Samuel, an old forest ranger with a grizzled beard and a voice rich with the weight of countless stories. Around the campfire, he spoke of a legend that had been passed down for generations, the tale of the guardian bear. In times of great need, Samuel said, his voice low and measured, there's a bear that doesn't act like others. It doesn't hunt, it protects. They say it's not just a bear but something more. Some believe it's a spirit, sent to guide the lost back to where they belong. The searchers listened with a mix of skepticism and fascination. Some dismissed the story as an old man's ramblings, but others couldn't shake the eerie feeling that the legend might hold a grain of truth. Samuel's words added a layer of mystery to their efforts, a sense that they were chasing not just a missing child but something extraordinary. As the bear and Lily continued their journey through the forest, danger loomed closer. Hunters, following rumors of a bear unlike any other, entered the woods with rifles slung over their shoulders. They discovered tracks, massive bear prints interspersed with the faint impressions of a child's footprints. The sight was unnerving, even to the seasoned men. What kind of animal walks alongside a human? One of them muttered, his voice tinged with unease. The bear sensed the threat before it was visible. Its ears twitched, its body tensing as the faint scent of gunpowder reached its nose. It scooped Lily up and moved swiftly, navigating the terrain with practiced ease. The forest seemed to conspire with the bear, its dense foliage hiding their tracks and its labyrinthine paths leading them farther from the hunters. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the bear carried Lily to a secluded glade surrounded by towering trees. It placed her gently on the ground, standing guard as its ears swiveled toward every rustle and crack in the distance. The air was heavy with tension, the looming threat of the hunters pressing closer. The chapter ended with the sound of a distant gunshot, the sharp crack shattering the silence of the glade. The bear's head snapped toward the sound, its body coiled with protective fury. Lily, oblivious to the danger, reached for the bear, her innocent gesture a poignant contrast to the peril that surrounded them. The first rays of dawn cut through the storm clouds as the search efforts for Lily intensified. Jack sat on the edge of his hospital bed, his hands trembling as he clutched a photo of his daughter. The bruises on his face and arms were nothing compared to the weight of guilt crushing his chest. Mia paced the room, her exhaustion masked by sheer determination. "She's out there," Mia said, her voice hoarse. "I can feel it." Jack looked up, his eyes rimmed with tears. "I should have done more. I should have." Mia stopped him with a firm hand on his shoulder. "Don't. We don't have time for guilt. We need to find her." A knock at the door interrupted them. It was Samuel, the seasoned ranger, accompanied by Elena, a skilled tracker known for her sharp instincts. Elena carried a map, her boots caked with mud from the forest trails she had scouted earlier. "We found something," Elena said, her voice calm but urgent. She spread the map across the bed, pointing to a marked area. "Bear tracks, huge ones. But here's the strange part." She flipped open her notebook, revealing a photo of overlapping prints, the unmistakable paw of a bear alongside tiny human footprints. "She's alive," Elena added, "and she's with the bear." Jack and Mia exchanged a look that was equal parts relief and disbelief. "Then we're going after her," Mia said, her resolve unshaken. The search party plunged into the wilderness, their gear weighed down by the relentless rain. The forest tested their limits at every turn. Steep inclines and slick mud made each step treacherous. Twisted roots seemed to reach up to trip them, and the air buzzed with the sounds of unseen wildlife. Elena led the group, her sharp eyes scanning the ground for signs. She spotted claw marks on a tree trunk, a partial paw print in the mud, and faint traces of crushed vegetation where the bear had passed. Samuel followed closely, his weathered face set with quiet determination. The group encountered challenges at every turn: a river swollen from the storm, a pack of wolves circling in the distance, and the constant threat of losing the trail. Meanwhile, the bear carried Lily deeper into the heart of the forest. It navigated obstacles with the ease of a creature that belonged to the wild. When the swollen river blocked their path, the bear waded through, holding Lily high above the rushing water. When it sensed predators nearby, it stood motionless, its massive form blending with the shadows, waiting until the danger passed. Lily clung to the bear's fur, her tiny fingers grasping tightly. Though she couldn't understand the peril they faced, she trusted the bear completely. Her laughter rang out occasionally, a stark contrast to the tension of the chase. But the bear's keen senses told it they were being followed, and it began to move faster, the urgency in its movements growing with each passing hour. The search party finally caught a glimpse of the bear at dusk. Elena froze mid-step, raising a hand to signal the others. There it was, on a rocky outcrop overlooking a glade, its hulking form unmistakable. Cradled in its arms was Lily, her golden hair catching the fading light. Mia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "That's my baby," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Jack stepped forward, but Samuel grabbed his arm. "Wait," the old ranger said. "Let's not spook it." One of the younger searchers raised his rifle, the metallic click breaking the stillness. The bear's head snapped toward them, its eyes narrowing. It rose to its full height, a terrifying sight as it placed itself between Lily and the humans. A deep growl rumbled from its chest, but it didn't advance. Instead, it stood firm, its body a protective barrier. "Don't shoot," Mia cried, stepping in front of the rifle. "It's not hurting her. Look at it." The search party hesitated, the tension palpable. The bear growled again, not with aggression but with a warning. Lily, oblivious to the standoff, reached up and patted the bear's snout, giggling softly. The sight was so disarming, so surreal, that even the most skeptical among them lowered their weapons. Samuel stepped forward slowly, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "I've seen this before," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. "The guardian bear. It's real." The bear turned its massive head toward Samuel, its growl fading. There was something almost knowing in its gaze, as if it recognized the ranger. Samuel's voice softened as he addressed the group. "This isn't just an animal, it's something more. I've heard stories my whole life, but I never thought." The bear began to retreat, stepping backward into the shadows of the forest. Lily looked over her shoulder, her tiny hand reaching toward her parents. Jack and Mia surged forward, but Samuel held them back. "Let it go," Samuel said firmly. "It's protecting her. We need to follow carefully, not force this." The bear and Lily disappeared into the darkness, leaving the search party frozen in place. The group stood in stunned silence, the echoes of Samuel's words hanging in the air. The forest seemed to exhale, its ancient secrets safe for now, but the hunt was far from over. In the distance, the faint cry of a wolf pierced the night, a reminder that the danger was still very real. The forest seemed to hold its breath as the search party finally caught up to the bear and Lily. This time, the bear did not growl or retreat, it stood still, its massive body motionless, as if it knew the moment had come. Lily, perched safely in its arms, reached out with a tiny giggle as Mia rushed forward, her arms outstretched and tears streaming down her face. Mia's voice cracked with relief and overwhelming emotion. Jack followed close behind, his legs trembling as he dropped to his knees. The bear lowered Lily gently to the ground, nudging her forward with its nose before stepping back. Mia scooped her daughter into her arms, clutching her tightly as Jack enveloped them both. Their sobs mingled with Lily's laughter, the child seemingly oblivious to the incredible danger she had been in. "We've got you, baby," Jack whispered, his voice choked with gratitude. "We've got you." The bear watched silently, its amber eyes reflecting something that could almost be described as understanding. Then, with a low grunt, it turned and lumbered toward the shadows of the forest. The searchers stood in stunned silence, unsure whether to cheer, cry, or marvel at what they had witnessed. Back at the search camp, the mood was a mix of awe and solemn reflection. Samuel sat by the fire, staring into the flames as if searching for answers in their flickering light. Elena approached, her expression a mirror of his contemplative state. "Did you see the way it looked at them?" she asked quietly, breaking the silence. Samuel nodded slowly. It wasn't just protecting her, it was letting her go, like it knew she didn't belong there anymore. Elena shivered, not from the cold but from the profound strangeness of it all. "I've tracked animals my whole life, but I've never seen anything like that. It wasn't just instinct, it was something else." For Samuel, the experience was a culmination of decades of whispered stories and unproven legends. "We think we know the wild," he said softly, "but there are things out here that go beyond what we can understand. Maybe it's time we started listening instead of taking." The other searchers, though initially skeptical, couldn't deny what they had seen. The story of the guardian bear spread quickly, reaching the ears of journalists, conservationists, and local leaders. The forest became more than just a stretch of wilderness, it was now a place of wonder and reverence. In the weeks following Lily's rescue, the community rallied around the forest and its mysterious protector. Samuel became a vocal advocate for preserving the area, drawing attention to the delicate balance between humanity and nature. He gave interviews, told his story at town halls, and inspired the creation of a conservation initiative aimed at protecting the forest and its inhabitants. The guardian bear became a symbol of coexistence, a reminder that humanity's relationship with the natural world didn't have to be adversarial. Mia and Jack, though private about their experience, supported the efforts wholeheartedly, often attending events and speaking about the importance of preserving the wild for future generations. Elena, too, found herself changed. She returned to her work as a tracker with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to approach her craft with greater respect and humility. The legend of the guardian bear wasn't just a story anymore, it was a call to action. One crisp autumn morning, Mia and Jack took Lily back to the edge of the forest. The trees were ablaze with golden and crimson leaves, and the air was alive with the sounds of rustling branches and distant birdsong. Lily, now walking with confident, toddler steps, pointed excitedly at the trees. "Bear," she said, her tiny voice filled with certainty. Mia and Jack exchanged a glance. They had told her little of what had happened, but somehow, Lily seemed to remember. They stayed at the edge of the forest for hours, but there was no sign of the bear. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the forest floor, Mia sighed and turned to go. Then, from the shadows, the bear appeared. It stood at a distance, watching silently. Jack instinctively moved to shield Mia and Lily, but Mia held him back. "It's okay," she whispered. The bear held their gaze for what felt like an eternity, its presence calm and still. Then, with a final, deliberate look at Lily, it turned and lumbered into the forest, disappearing among the trees. The moment was bittersweet, a quiet farewell that left them both grateful and heartbroken. Weeks later, Samuel ventured deeper into the forest than he ever had before, driven by an unshakable sense that there was more to the story. What he found left him breathless, a series of ancient petroglyphs etched into a hidden cave wall. The carvings depicted bears and humans living in harmony, sharing the land and protecting one another. At the center of the images was a striking figure, a bear cradling a small child. Samuel's heart pounded as he traced the lines with his fingers. The resemblance to Lily and the guardian bear was unmistakable. How old were these carvings, and what did they mean? The discovery raised more questions than answers, but it also solidified the sense of something timeless and mystical at play. When Samuel shared his findings with the community, it only deepened their awe. The petroglyphs became a protected site, a symbol of the profound connection between humans and the natural world. As the forest settled back into its rhythms, the story of the guardian bear became legend. For Mia, Jack, and Lily, life moved forward, but the experience left an indelible mark on their hearts. Every so often they would visit the forest's edge, Lily's laughter ringing out as she called for the bear that had saved her life. And somewhere deep in the forest, unseen but always present, the guardian bear roamed, its purpose fulfilled but its watch never ending. The forest gave way to an open clearing bathed in the soft light of dawn, and there, at the center, stood the bear with Lily in its protective grasp. The search party approached cautiously, their collective breath held, as if a single wrong move could shatter the fragile moment. Mia broke through the line, her arms outstretched, her voice trembling with tears. "Lily," she cried. The bear turned its massive head toward her, its expression unreadable but calm. Gently, it lowered Lily to the ground. The little girl wobbled on unsteady legs before running toward her mother with a joyful squeal. Mia fell to her knees, scooping Lily into her arms as Jack arrived moments later, collapsing beside them in a flood of relief and tears. The bear watched the scene with quiet intensity, its great chest rising and falling. Jack, overwhelmed by emotion, whispered a broken thank you in the creature's direction. The bear grunted softly, almost as if acknowledging the words. Then, with a slow turn, it began to retreat into the forest, its massive form disappearing into the shadows. The reunion was a miracle, but for Samuel and Elena, the moment carried a deeper resonance. Back at the search camp, Samuel spoke of the bear with a newfound reverence, recounting its intelligence and uncharacteristic behavior. "It wasn't just instinct," he said, his voice filled with awe. "That bear, it knew, it understood." Elena, who had spent her career tracking animals, found her worldview irrevocably changed. "I've spent my life studying predators," she said quietly, "but I've never seen anything like this. It wasn't just protecting Lily, it was caring for her." Word of the encounter spread through the community, sparking a mix of disbelief and wonder. Samuel, once regarded as an eccentric storyteller, was now seen as a guardian of ancient wisdom. His tales of the guardian bear, once dismissed as legend, gained new respect. The community rallied around the story, recognizing it as more than a miraculous survival tale. It became a symbol of coexistence and the fragile bond between humans and nature. Inspired by the events, efforts began to protect the forest and its inhabitants. Conservationists, led by Samuel and Elena, lobbied to declare the area a sanctuary, ensuring that the bear and its kin could roam freely without the threat of hunters. Children in the village grew up hearing Samuel's stories, now retold as lessons of respect for the natural world. The bear's actions challenged the narrative of animals as mere threats, sparking a global conversation about the depth of connection between species. One evening, as Mia and Jack sat with Lily near the edge of the forest, a rustle in the underbrush drew their attention. From the shadows, the bear emerged one last time. It stood at a distance, its amber eyes locking with Lily's. The little girl, cradled in her mother's arms, reached out as if to call to it, but the bear didn't move closer. Instead, it watched for a long moment, its gaze filled with something beyond comprehension. Then, with a final grunt, the bear turned and vanished into the woods. Its departure felt like the closing of a chapter, a bittersweet farewell that left an indelible mark on those who witnessed it. For Lily, the bear's absence carried no sadness, only a deep sense of gratitude and an unspoken promise to honor its legacy. Days later, Samuel stumbled upon an ancient rock formation deep within the forest while guiding conservationists. The petroglyphs carved into the stone told a story older than the trees themselves. Figures of humans and bears stood side by side, their forms intertwined in scenes of harmony and mutual care. Among the carvings was a striking depiction of a bear cradling a small human child. Samuel's breath caught in his throat as he traced the lines with his weathered fingers. "It's her," he whispered. "It's Lily and the bear." The discovery solidified the story as not just a moment in time, but as part of a legacy that spanned generations, a connection etched into the fabric of the forest itself. Years later, Lily, now a teenager, stood at the edge of the forest with her parents. The air was rich with the scent of pine and damp earth, and the sounds of the wilderness seemed to welcome her back. Though she had no clear memories of the time spent with the bear, she felt its presence deeply, as if it had left an imprint on her soul. "This place is special," she said softly, her voice carrying a mix of wonder and reverence. "I can feel it." Mia smiled, placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "It's where we found you. It's where you found your guardian." The forest had changed since those days. Thanks to the efforts of Samuel, Elena, and the community, it was now a protected sanctuary. A stone marker near the trailhead bore an inscription in honor of the guardian bear and the bond that unites us all. Visitors from around the world came to walk the trails, inspired by the story of Lily and the bear. The event sparked a global movement, raising awareness about the importance of conservation and the delicate balance between humans and the natural world. Samuel, now retired, spent his days as a guide, sharing the forest's stories with anyone who would listen. His once dismissed tales of the guardian bear had become a cornerstone of the sanctuary's legacy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the forest in hues of gold and crimson, Lily wandered a short distance from her parents. She stopped abruptly, her breath catching as she spotted movement in the distance. A young bear cub emerged from the underbrush, its dark fur gleaming in the twilight. It stood still, its curious eyes meeting hers. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Lily felt a wave of recognition, as if the cub carried the spirit of the guardian bear that had once saved her. She smiled, a quiet understanding passing between them. The cub tilted its head, then disappeared into the trees. Lily turned back toward her parents, her heart full of hope. As they walked away, the forest whispered its timeless secrets, a reminder of the unbreakable bond between humans and nature. The screen faded to black, leaving the audience with a profound message: we are not separate from nature, we are part of it.